In 1939, Hollywood changed one detail from L. Frank Baum's original book. They turned Dorothy's silver slippers ruby red. That single alteration buried the key to a coded warning about debt, money, and the financial powers crushing ordinary Americans. It is a warning that mirrors a mythic pattern stretching back 3,000 years, and it all traces back to a collapse Baum witnessed firsthand. In the early 1890s, Aberdeen, South Dakota, wore the look of a rising frontier town, grain elevators on the horizon, trains rumbling through a grid of wooden streets. But behind that promise, L. Frank Baum watched his neighbors lose everything. Brown County's deed ledgers, preserved in the state archives, record 73 farm foreclosures between 1890 and 1896. The names of families, Miller, Jensen, O'Leary, appear in a grim procession, each entry listing the creditor, National City Bank of New York, Equitable Trust Company. These were not distant abstractions. They were Baum's customers, men and women who pawned wedding rings and family clocks just to buy seed for spring. The Aberdeen Pioneer's classified columns from June 1893 run thick with pawnshop notices. No money for seed. Farm implements for sale. Mortgage due. Wheat prices collapsed in step with the national panic. In 1890, a bushel fetched $1.29. By 1893, that same bushel brought only 68 cents. The numbers are dry, but the consequences were not. With every drop in price, another family lost the land they had broken by hand. Bankers in New York sent foreclosure orders west, and local sheriffs enforced them with no room for mercy. The headlines in the Aberdeen Pioneer grew more desperate. Bank takes over farm of J.H. Miller. No payment on mortgage. Baum, running his small shop on Main Street, saw the toll up close. The cheerful optimism of the town's early days faded into suspicion and anxiety. For many in Aberdeen, the American dream had become a trap, and the system that promised security now delivered only loss. These were the real-world stakes, the human cost, hidden beneath the surface of a children's tale, waiting to be unearthed. Long before Dorothy ever set foot in Oz, the blueprint for her journey had already been drafted in the oldest stories of the world. Ancient myths from Greece, Mesopotamia, and beyond tell of travelers who cross thresholds, guided by strange footwear or tokens of passage. In Greek legend, Hermes wears winged sandals, talaria, allowing him to slip unseen between the mortal world and the realm of gods. Engravings from the 5th century BCE show the messenger god poised in mid-flight, sandals aflame with feathers, a silent promise that boundaries can always be crossed. Joseph Campbell, in his study of myth, called this pattern the monomyth, a cycle where the hero is torn from home, aided by a supernatural gift, tested through ordeal, and finally returns transformed. The stages repeat across centuries: departure, aid, trial, return. In Baum's tale, Dorothy's silver slippers echo Hermes' sandals, granting her the power to move between worlds. The slippers are not just magical objects, they are ancient symbols of passage, a device as old as storytelling itself. The journey through Oz follows the classic arc. A tornado rips Dorothy from Kansas. The Good Witch bestows enchanted shoes, and the yellow brick road becomes her road of trials. Along the way, she faces tests, false wizards, threatening witches, companions who doubt their own worth. The Emerald City rises at the journey's center, a glittering city that promises answers but delivers only illusion. Each element, shoes, road, city, recalls motifs from myth: the hero's aid, the path of gold, the city of dreams and deception. What seems like a simple children's adventure is, in fact, a retelling of a story as old as civilization. The blueprint is hidden in plain sight, coded into the structure of Oz. These patterns prepare the ground for symbols that will soon take on new political weight, where silver and gold are not just colors, but the keys to power and the tools of control. A figure of straw, patched and hollow, stands at the edge of a Kansas cornfield. Baum's Scarecrow, with his painted smile and empty head, carries the anxieties of the American farmer. In the 1890s, the label of ignorance haunted rural communities, and politicians and newspapers alike blamed the farm crisis on the supposed dullness of those who worked the land. Yet the real emptiness was not in their minds, but in their pockets and pantries. Baum's description, a figure of straw patched together, yet his eyes held a yearning for the brain, mirrors the farmer's wish for respect, and for a system that did not punish them for drought, debt, and falling prices. Beside him, the Tin Woodman moves with a stiff, metallic clatter. Once a flesh and blood man, he is now a casualty of progress, rusted by his own tears. Baum's passages dwell on his longing for a heart, but the deeper wound is his transformation into a machine, an echo of the industrial worker dehumanized by the factory line. In the 1890s, laborers across the Midwest and East lost jobs to automation and consolidation. Like the Tin Man, they found themselves frozen by forces beyond their control, unable to move without the oil of steady wages or union support. Then comes the Cowardly Lion, mane bright, but voice trembling. His roar is loud, but his courage falters at every test. To Baum's readers, the resemblance to William Jennings Bryan was unmistakable. Bryan's oratory electrified the nation. His Cross of Gold speech in 1896 thundered against the bankers and the gold standard. But at the ballot box, his bravery dissolved. 3 times he ran for president, 3 times he lost. The lion's bluster and self-doubt became a portrait of a leader whose promise never quite translated into victory. Baum distributed the era's deepest fears and hopes among these companions. The Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Lion are not mere sidekicks. They are living symbols of the groups most battered by the economic storms of the 1890s. Their journey is a coded record of a society in distress, each character carrying the burdens and the illusions of their time. A golden road, shining beneath a cloudless sky, winds through the fields of Oz. Each brick catches the sun like a polished coin. Baum's own words describe it as a path of hope, but also a path of gold. In the world outside the story, the Golden Road had a different name, the Gold Standard. For farmers and workers in the 1890s, that path led not to prosperity, but to ruin. The promise of gold-backed currency kept the powerful secure, while those at the margins were left to stumble. In 1894, Jacob Coxey gathered hundreds of unemployed men and set out from Ohio on foot. Their destination was Washington, D.C. Their demand was currency reform, the right to work, and relief from a system that seemed designed to keep them in debt. Newspapers called them Coxey's Army. They marched for weeks, sleeping in barns, carrying banners for good roads and more money. When they reached the capital, police broke up the crowd and arrested Coxey for walking on the grass. The Golden Road, it turned out, was guarded at every step. In Baum's tale, Dorothy and her companions are drawn forward by the promise of answers at the end of the yellow brick road. In reality, the path was lined with illusions, and those who followed it often found themselves further from home than when they began. At the gates of the Emerald City, Dorothy and her companions are stopped by a strange demand. Every visitor, the gatekeeper insists, must put on a pair of emerald green spectacles. The reason is never questioned. Baum wrote that they must be locked on with a golden key, for otherwise the brightness and glory of the Emerald City would blind them. In this city, the green glow is not a natural wonder, it is enforced. Every citizen, every traveler, sees the world through tinted glass, and the spectacle becomes law. The text spells it out. All were obliged to wear green glasses as long as they remained in the city. Even the animals had to have them fastened over their eyes. Behind the shimmer, nothing is truly emerald. The city's splendor is a manufactured vision, a reality imposed by decree. The green spectacles do more than color the world, they control what people believe is real. The effect is total. Houses, streets, even the air itself seems to sparkle, but only because everyone is forced to see it that way. The rule is absolute, enforced by gatekeepers with golden keys. This is not just a charming detail, it is a warning. When perception is managed from above, consent is manufactured, and illusion becomes the only truth allowed. The Emerald City's brilliance depends on obedience, a spectacle that blinds as much as it dazzles. A vast, unnatural figure looms above Dorothy and her friends, a giant head, blazing eyes, arms like tree trunks, a beard tangled and wild. The wizard's voice thunders through the chamber, echoing off the emerald walls, but the terror is all smoke and mirrors. Baum's original text describes a monstrous form, twice the size of any man, crafted to overwhelm and control. Each visitor sees something different, to the Scarecrow a floating head, to the Tin Woodman a beast, to the lion a ball of fire. The illusion is total, the fear deliberate. When Dorothy pleads for help, the wizard's bargain arrives cold and sharp. He will not grant wishes, not for free. Instead, he sends a child to kill. The order is chilling. Bring me the broomstick of the Wicked Witch of the West. Only then, he says, will he consider her request. Behind the curtain, a trembling hand pulls levers and puffs smoke. The mighty wizard is revealed as an ordinary man, a master of deception who rules by spectacle and threat. The power he wields is not magic, but the ability to manufacture belief, demanding obedience, enforcing impossible tasks, hiding weakness behind a monstrous mask. The curtain falls, and with it, the illusion of authority. The wizard's reign is exposed as fraud, his promises built on fear and lies. Fairy tales still shape what we accept as real. Today, financial illusions and elite power hide behind new curtains, just as dangerous, just as invisible. The real wizard remains at work, scripting our choices. The question is, will we ever see through the spell? Share your thoughts below.